Hi, my name is Shauna Hay, and I am going to tell you about my cumulative project for CSD 521. I chose to teach my client how to draw a face for a variety of reasons. I've always had an interest in art, and I like to enjoy it and I like to create it. The client showed interest in developing this skill. It's a measurable skill. It can be explained in steps, and the data can be compared side by side. It's a great creative outlet, although there's a structure to it. Once that foundation is built, there can be a lot of creativity that goes into it as well. And there is some relevance to the field of SLP, so it's practical in that sense as well. So this is the overview. So here are the directions that were given to the client for the baseline and the post-test. This is the model that was provided. They were allowed to observe the model for 60 seconds and then given 5 minutes to replicate to the best of their ability. They were able to use the materials provided by me, the clinician, and the directions laid out the inclusion of eyes, eyebrows, ears, hair, a mouth, and a nose. And the client could ask for time checks whenever they wanted. So here are those materials that were provided. The only one that was only used by the clinician was the timer. That wasn't the client's responsibility. The clinician, myself, acted as the timekeeper. All right, so here is the scoring system that was used. So you can see that the criteria there is based off of symmetry, inclusion of facial features, proportions, and matching the model. There was a total possible of 16 points, excellent being 4, scores of 1 meaning needs improvement, and then 2 and 3 being between those. So as you can see, there's more detail in these, but excellent is looking for accuracy, close resemblance of the model, close symmetry of the facial features and precision as far as their positioning. And then needing improvement would just, be really significant issues in those proportions, missing facial features, odd placement of features, that lack of symmetry. So here is the short-term goal. So the client will draw a face in a 5-minute time period with increased accuracy from a score of 11 to a score of 13 out of 16 determined by the established rubric following 2 teaching sessions of 30 minutes. So there we have our do statement. The client will draw a face in a 5-minute time period with increased accuracy. Our criterion, the accuracy increase from a score of 11 to a score of 13 from that established rubric, and then the condition following 2 teaching sessions of 30 minutes. And the objective was met. The client did meet the objective, so let's take a look at that. All right, so here is our baseline probe, which was scored 11 out of 16. There are some symmetry issues there. He did include all of the facial features. The proportions were pretty good, but could use a little bit of improvement. Excuse me. And then matching the model that we looked at earlier, there was a lack of accuracy with that. And then when we look at the post-test probe over here, he scored a 15 out of 16. The symmetry is really great on this. Inclusion of all the facial features again. Great proportions. And then a 3 on matching the model. There was just a little bit of lack of accuracy, but this is, this falls into an excellent score based on that rubric that we have. And so we can visually see that here. There's that baseline at 11, the post-test at 15, and then that orange bar shows the objective that we were aiming for, so he met the objective and surpassed it. All right, so let's take a look. So this is what this skill looks like. Since it does take some time to do this, I'm going to explain how it works. So this is what we said at first. So that water bottle is used to create a circle, and then everything is based around that. So the ruler is used to create these lines, and each of those lines is associated with different facial features and placement. So these are the steps for how you lay this out. In the next slide, we'll see more detail on that, but we want to lay all this out because it'll provide us a layout for our symmetry, a layout for our proportions. The eyes are going to be where we start, which is on that center line right there. The nose tip is at line 2. Eyebrows below C, and lips at the bottom of 3, and then hair at the top, just below A. So let's look at what that looks like. So again, drawing this all out right now would be a little tedious and time consuming. But you can see how that would align. So those eyes align with the center line. That nose tip aligns with line 2, the lips at line 3, the eyebrows underneath C. The ears go from the center line down to line 2, and the hair is right under that line A, and then just kind of billows over to the sides. So there are quite a few steps in this, and it can be a little tricky to master, so that's why it took a few sessions. So let's take a look at Teach 1. So this was really just working through those steps. Like I said, there are quite a few, and as you saw, there are quite a few. So this was all about working through them. The steps were demonstrated while explaining the rubric, explaining the importance of the criteria, and then I guided the client through replicating those steps with really, really strong support. It is a little tricky, so offering plenty of support. So let's take a look at that. So modeled the target, demonstrated the methods, guided drawing methods, did everything step by step and worked through every line so that it made sense, and provided feedback and input. So like I said, the support was very direct, clear correcting of mistakes, and offering of suggestions. And here is the Teach 1 drawing. This, we're not worried about those lines on there at all for scoring. The score here is 14 out of 16. You can see a lot of improvement. The symmetry improved a lot, as well as the proportions. And moving towards Teach 2. So this was, the steps that kind of had to be made after looking at that. Note-taking and questions. Since the client showed such strong capabilities, having a more client-led session was up next, and then again focusing on those symmetry and proportions to build those skills. Here was our lesson plan for Teach 2. So this was again a lot more client-led. The activity, while there was demonstration involved, I did demonstrate again, but then it really focused on having the client lead the drawing session. The model was in clear view again, verbal explanation of the steps, and really a big thing here was verbal naming of the steps and note-taking. Visually demonstrating those, modeling, showing the rubric, and having the client lead. While there was support, and direct support, this was reduced and increased based on what the client demonstrated. And here is Teach 2. So 14 out of 16 here. Really the symmetry was a lot better. We're just looking to fix a couple little areas for improvement. And so we did see that post-test probe before. He did a great job on that, which was a 15. It looked really good, and he improved on that symmetry, so that was really cool to see. And so here's a graph representing baseline, Teach 1, Teach 2, and the post-test probe. As far as his progress, what really worked was modifying the demonstration techniques. He just had specific questions or needed a little guidance on, lip placement. And so there was a focus on really what the client needed. I also realized that I was guiding him in note-taking and providing my own wording and allowing him to take the charge on that and take his own notes in his own words, I think was very helpful, as well as positive reinforcement. And then what detracted was there was a little bit too much focus on my end on perfecting each step in that first teaching session. So I think that the client felt that as well. So a little bit more relaxed than those would have been helpful. And then I also offered a little bit of creative freedom in that first session, and I think that was just a little bit more confusing when we were building that foundation. So, thank you so much for listening, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.